one of the most important videos you'll see out there today. It's just one of the most awful things that Congress is doing to not deal with this issue. These constant accusations, the Epstein files, and so on and so forth. They just don't want to address these pervert misconduct claims. It says here, Massie writes, transparency is essential to the operation of government, and Americans have a right to know if their taxpayer dollars settle congressional pervert misconduct claims. I introduced my resolution to expose the Slush Fund yesterday. It passed the House by a vote of 420 to 0. All right, let's watch and see what's going on.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to a question of the privileges of the House and offer the resolution that was previously noted.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 1399. Whereas transparency is essential for accountability in government, whereas sexual harassment and unwelcome sexual advances by members, delegates, or resident commissioners in violation of Clause 9 and Clause 18 of Rule 23 of the Rules of the House affect the safety, dignity, and integrity of the proceedings of the House of Representatives. Now therefore be it resolved. 1. That with respect to reviews, investigations, or matters which the Committee on Ethics or the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights have reviewed, conducted, or facilitated, the Committee on Ethics and the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights shall not later than 60 days after the adoption of this resolution make publicly available a single consolidated list that sets forth separately for each member, delegate, or resident commissioner, the name of each member, delegate, or resident commissioner who was the subject of any review or investigation involving a violation of Clause 9 of Rule 23 of the Rules of the House of Representatives as it pertains to acts of sexual harassment, or Clause 18 of Rule 23 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, or any case involving sexual harassment or sexual abuse if it resulted in a payment of taxpayer funds, and I. Adjacent to each such name, the total amount.
The fact of the matter is they should just be releasing this information. If they made an accusation and they're using congressional funds to defend themselves legally, this is taxpayer money. It should be publicly available information at all times.
Amount of taxpayer funds included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such matters. B, the aggregate total amount of taxpayer funds included.
And one of the reasons we should know this is because, it's just a sign of corruption. It sounds like corruption. It sounds like it could be a payoff, not just legal protections, but a bit of a payoff using taxpayer dollars. That's a concern.
Included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such reviews, investigations, or matters involving members, delegates, or resident commissioners that did not, in any portion of the settlement, involve sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct. C, the aggregate total amount of taxpayer funds included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such reviews, investigations, or matters involving in part or full sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct by employees of the House of Representatives. And D, the aggregate total amount of taxpayer funds included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such reviews, investigations, or matters involving conduct by employees of the House of Representatives that did not, in any portion of the settlement, involve sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct. That for purposes of this resolution, any such settlement, payment, reimbursement, award, or other financial consideration shall be treated as involving sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct if sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct was any component of the matter, regardless of whether the matter also involved, was classified as, or was resolved under another claim, violation, or category.
The resolution qualifies. Pursuant to Clause 2 of Rule 9, the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Massie, will control 30 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Massie.
In a representative democracy, as we have here, a republic, if you will, transparency is essential to the operation of government, particularly transparency in the official behavior of the members of this body, as well as the officers and employees of this body. In 1995, due to the Congressional Accountability Act, which, by the way, was a good bill, we always say that Congress should be subject to the same laws as the rest of the country. Well,
that'd be the dream, wouldn't it? Could you imagine Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, and some of these other people being held to the same standards? Hillary Clinton held to the same standards as the rest of us? That's the dream.
That's what the 1995 Congressional Accountability Act was about, saying that you can't discriminate or harass your employees just because you're a member of Congress or an office of the House of Representatives. And so in that sense, it was good, but it also set up a fund from which payments could be made to settle claims. Presumably, this is in the best interests of the victims of those claims. But this program went on for many years with a lot of opaqueness. And there wasn't much clarity in terms of what kind of claims were being paid out. Were they being paid out to settle claims against staff? Were they being paid out to settle claims against members? And so occasionally there would be reports from the offices that were responsible for administrating the law, but there just wasn't enough information in there. And that's part of what my privilege resolution here today is about, getting more transparency into what happened in the first 20 years of this program. But in 2018, Congress sought to revise the transparency of this program and also to impose more accountability. But I have a concern that the 2018 bill may not have been carefully drafted and may have left some loopholes that are now open. Because even though we get an annual report now that has reports which offices in the House have paid out settlements and whether those settlements impose a requirement on the member in that office to pay back that taxpayer money, what I have discovered is that there have been no reports that have reported that any member of Congress has settled a claim against a staffer for which the member of Congress is responsible for paying back that claim. So when I dig into the results and also the language of the 2018 amendment to the Congressional Accountability Act, I see that covered payments refer to Chapter A of Title II, but when you look at the code, 2 U.S.C. 1415, harassment is qualified to two other sections of code, referring to race, gender, age, discrimination against veterans, for instance. It's unclear to me if it covers physical or sexual harassment or other forms of sexual misconduct that may be settled through ethics investigations and then through the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights. So I believe it is necessary to have this report that my resolution requests. I believe it's important to the House of Representatives to have transparency. So
absolutely. It's important to the American people to have transparency. We need to know what these accusations are and who's doing it. I mean, the fact that Congress is so anti what Massie is doing, anti-releasing information about the Epstein files, shows that there's just too much corruption going on, and it's quite unfortunate and disturbing. So I'm glad that there's one guy in Congress who's standing up for this. Unfortunately, it's the one guy that the deep state sought to get rid of. So again, I hope Massie will make a comeback and in some other capacity.
So that people know there wasn't a mistake in the 2018 law, or maybe there was an intentional omission in the 2018 law, where several claims could escape the new requirement in 2018 that congressmen pay back the certain settlements and that these certain settlements be reported. So with that, this shouldn't require a long debate. It shouldn't require a lot of explanation for a resolution that's only 2 pages. I would urge my colleagues to vote for this in the interest of transparency and openness We need to know what's been going on here in the House of Representatives in order to convince the people and assure the people that we are conducting the people's business with the utmost integrity and treating the officers.
Massie was smart in passing this bill, you know? Like, could you imagine somebody voting against this? It really stands out that everybody voted for it. It looks like a few people just didn't bother showing up. But, you know, maybe they should be investigated if they didn't vote for this bill. I mean, as he said before, 42-0. Well, that's you know, that's missing a couple people.
And employees of this institution with the respect that they deserve. And with that, I urge adoption of this resolution, and I yield back.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the resolution. The question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The gentleman from Kentucky.
I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number have risen. The yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed.
There we go. Another great accomplishment by the great Thomas Massie. Thanks for viewing this video. You know, like, share, comment, everything helps.